This is Anthony with True Diamond Heart, continuing our video series on doing nothing and being everything. Now, last time we spoke about the practical value as well as the absolute experiential value of being. The time before that, we had a meditative experience of being. Then we described how it's not just, well, it is just the state of beauty and truth, and that from that state also is a life of doing that is more effective, more powerful, more loving, more true and authentic, more effective. So it's both practical internally and practically in our outer worlds. Now, how do we know that we're unnecessarily doing, or that we're using doing to basically avoid being? There's a fear of being. It's not rational or reasonable, but it's part of the false conditioning. It's part of the erroneous ideas that we've adopted and come to believe as what life is about. And we use all of our doings internally and externally, the ones that are not practical. Now, brush your teeth. You know, there's the Zen proverb, or the Zen parable. The student comes to the master and says, "Master, how do I find enlightenment?" And the master says, "Have you had breakfast?" And the disciple says, "Yep." And the master says, "Wash your bowl." You know, that practical doing is absolutely magnificent. But we are so involved with impractical, unnecessary doing. Think about all of the compulsive thinking, the compulsive feeling, the compulsive connections that we're making with other people, how unhealthy many or all of our relationships have been through our lives, both with ourselves. If they're healthy with ourselves, we sleep well, we're at peace, we're not saying, "I was so stupid, I was so smart." There's no self-judgment, it's simply just an acceptance because we know that we're behaving in the way that's in accordance with the authenticity of who we are. There's no seeking after addictive drugs, relationships, eating, any of these kinds of things. All of these things are naturally in the place that they belong, but that's not how it is for our lives at this point, to some extent or other. And perhaps we've never actually started moving down the path of identifying and releasing. Now, how do we identify these things? Well, we spoke of awareness several videos ago, and that's crucial. Awareness, simply watching what's happening within and without, impersonally. We don't judge it. If there's a secondary reaction, we judge it, then we just watch the judgment. We get to the point where there's no personal involvement or stake in what we see. I got angry, I behaved badly, I feel ashamed of it, I don't want to feel ashamed of it. And then eventually I get to the point where all of these things are being watched. There's an anger, there's a bad behavior, there's a reaction, there's a shame, and then we just see those things. We just keep moving away till we get to the place where we are no longer with a need to have this thing come out as good or bad or to push it down. We don't negate it. It doesn't have to be explained on this level. It doesn't have to be explained. Some things need to be explained, but on the level of spiritual, emotional, psychological, generally emancipation, we don't need to understand on this level. One master said, "Take the garbage to the curb." You don't have to inspect all of it. Just identify it as garbage, take it to the curb. So the identification, the awareness, and the awareness in and of itself, and we don't project it, we don't push it on other people. The awareness itself will lessen the power of unnecessary doings. The other thing that we can do to move through unnecessary doings is to simply, because unnecessary doings are always covering something. They either are, or they're part of, or they're covering something that we don't want to feel or think about or identify as, "I don't want that to be who I am. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to know that. I don't want to experience that." So the things that I do are part of escaping from that or pretending or whatever it is. Now, we've done the awareness, which is the impersonal identification, just to see that it's there. Then, in meditation, if you need counseling, get it, of course. but we can meditate. We'll talk about that more deeply in the next video. We can sit still, and in our stillness practice, be more deeply mindful. What we're talking about awareness is mindfulness. It's being aware and mindful of what happens through the day. Meditation is when we sit still and we do two things. What we did a few videos ago, we experience being, which is magnificent, and we house clean, which is we let go of unnecessary doings. Next video, we'll get into how we let go of unnecessary doings, how to work in meditation and in mindfulness to let go of unnecessary doings.